Okay.
Doesn't matter. So, in fact, not only does it matter, we are live. So, hello, and welcome to Intercultural Spark, that show about the spark inside of us, each of us, that drives you to spark change in the world through mission driven businesses and life projects. I am your host, Deanna Schaas, the founder of Intercultural Talk, where actually I help entrepreneurs find their spark or communicate it online in today's world of communications technology. And technology, as far as business goes, is critical because technology continues to change, and there's so much that we as business owners need to know. But also sometimes it's helpful to discern like what we really need to know, as to remain competitive and relevant in the work world. So once a month, I like to have a session specifically on technology. And today, it's always exciting to find someone who has that perfect balance between knowing what's coming and the cutting edge of technology, and then also who's also a really successful business owner. So I am delighted today to welcome Ryan Walsh. Ryan is the founder at Valqari, which is a drone delivery. He'll explain even better, but a drone delivery system company. But he's amazing. He's a former Army Ranger. He's done 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's been working on the technology for Valqari for the drone delivery since 2013, but he founded the company in 2017 to actually start operationalizing it, the part where it turns into a business. So he's a lead inventor on the technology you're using, he's got 28 patents. So we're going to hear all about it. So welcome to Intercultural Spark. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm
Thanks for having me.
great. So I always like to give you like sort of people read, at least in US American culture, left to right. So I like to put you in the prime position so they see you first. So,
Thank you.
well, welcome. Well, so we're both in Chicago. So we're actually nearby each other. You're based in just south of the city, or
We
where's
actually
Valkyrie?
moved to Lombard, so we're actually closer to the city now. Just better space. We have more test area and a little closer to our employees in the city, so they're not driving as far. But yeah, right outside of Chicago.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I thought we would dive in with, kind of what it does. And I thought it might make sense I thought it might make sense to actually show a video of how it works. So maybe, is that a good place to start? And then maybe you can tell us what
Yeah.
the company is and what you do. So I'm going to hit play on this.
So this is a demo we did in Naperville over the summer, just outside of Chicago. You'll see this gentleman. He's going to come up and wave his phone, and only his door opens. And so he places a package in there to send off to somebody. It gets sorted into an elevator and then brought up to the drone. And then we tell the drone it's safe to take off. The drone then proceeds to the delivery station, which is some distance away over here. They go through an authentication protocol through our back-end platform. And then the drone does a precision landing, drops the package onto the elevator, it gets sorted, and everybody gets a notification that their package has arrived. So Valqari really focuses on the infrastructure. We partner with drone companies. We don't build our own drones. We look to be the airport for the airplane, much more so than the airplane itself. So you'll see this guy got a notification. He goes and waves his phone, and now he is on his way with his package. It was very streamlined and seamless.
So is there even a code, or someone actually just they just wave their phone?
So we can set it up both ways. So we do have ways where you can go in and it picks up on the signal from the phone. We also have touch screens that we'll be releasing very soon on new product lines where you won't need a code at all. You can just go in, punch in a number that's given to you when you receive your delivery.
Mhm. And does it go from, so what you've created, would you call it, for lack of a better word, like the smart mailbox, that where the drone actually delivers, does it go from mailbox to mailbox, or does it get a package and then go to, like, would you work with the UPS where you're getting it from the mailbox to UPS, they're sending it to where it needs to go, and then you're going from UPS to another smart mailbox on the other end?
So the beauty of the technology is we
Mhm.
built it because there's so many different ways that you can implement this. So if it's a driver that comes, drops a package off, and then a drone takes it to another location, the customer picks it up. We are going to be releasing a commercial version of a smart mailbox, which will go in front of a single family home.
Oh,
We
wow.
also have designs that we're working on for window and balcony and rooftop units as those start developing. So whatever the customer need is, our technology is the same regardless of the shape or size of the mailbox. But what we're building is that infrastructure, both the hardware, the mailbox, and the back end software that coordinates all of it between all the stakeholders.
Mhm. Because in the demonstration you showed, that would be, I guess, a public mailbox, the person going up, getting it out of that box, that wasn't, quote, "their box." They just had a code that opened. I
Yep.
guess the box was coded that it would be in that particular, cubby hole for I'm gonna use, like, all the really lay people terms. So,
No
but in
problem.
that cubby hole, and then their code just opens that door, so they don't actually own a specific mailbox, it's just where the package would go within there, and that's all coded between the package and the person who's going to get it. Is that
We can set
correct?
it up two ways. It
Okay.
can be a community mailbox where you have
Mhm,
multi-tenancy and people can come and go, similar to other locker systems, where you only use it when needed. Other cases where you put it in front of a townhouse community, for instance, each
mhm,
person may have their own individualized locker that is assigned to them. So we can configure the system both ways.
mhm. And so it's I think so Ryan and I met. I have a client, RBS Drone Technologies. They actually help train people who want to get their commercial drone pilot's license. So in doing that, I was doing some research on how this all works in terms of pilots. So how does it work as far as there's FAA regulations, there were government pilots? Can anyone just start flying a drone on a business like this, or do you have to be part of some sort of government program?
No, it's a bit of a complicated process for sure. It's dealing with the government agency, so you add that plus aviation, which requires extra levels of safety. It creates a situation where ideally you don't want anybody just picking up a drone, but somebody who goes and takes a part 107 certification, which is a very simple test for anybody to take, they'll have the skills needed to fly recreationally and
Mhm,
within line of sight. Once you start getting into more complex type operations, beyond visual line of sight, over people, nighttime, then you have to start going through a much more rigorous process, which is a part 135, and they're working on some other ones. But um, for the average person that wants to buy a drone, fly it around their neighborhood, take pictures of their house, it's a very easy process. But they will need a lot more going towards a commercial side of it.
mhm. And then would your company then hire drone operators to move the packages? Or are you engaging with other companies and if you did engage with other companies, what kind of company would you engage with?
So we predominantly see ourselves very similar to an airport, right? It doesn't matter
Mhm,
if it's American Airlines flying a Boeing, Southwest, whomever, right? They all use the same infrastructure, and it's designed to be standardized so everybody can use it safely. So we partner with the different drone operators and integrate with their various airframes, and they provide all of the back and forth. We build the infrastructure for them. A lot of the times we'll have the drone companies come to us and say, we have this customer, we have this great network, but we need to establish endpoint security. Can we put your landing stations in? And we can do that very simply. Other times we have the end customer come to us and say, we know we need drone delivery. We know your landing stations are the key. Can you bring a drone partner in which case we do.
interesting. So you might actually, which goes back to kind of your super army logistics. Someone might come to you with any number of a need that has to do with getting package from point A to point B, and then you're going to work with them to figure out what they need. Is that correct?
Exactly. Every
Okay.
situation, different volumes, distances, weights, they all lend themselves to different airframes, right? If you're looking at vehicles on the road, motorcycles and semi trucks have very different capabilities, and drones are no different. So we help our partners identify which airframe, which operator, and
Mhm,
what routes are the most
mhm.
cost effective for them.
And I know, but some of my viewers might not. Tell me what you mean when you use the term airframe. What does that mean to you in your industry?
Yeah, so that's just the drone itself, right? A drone is an airframe, an
Okay.
airplane, helicopter. It's just a broad term for any kind of aircraft.
Oh, airframe. Oh, I hadn't heard that before. And Brianna says this is so cool. Who is flying the drones to the mailboxes?
So we have a number of amazing partners. USOG, Uncrewed Systems Operation Group. I think they're changing their name from Unmanned. But USOG, Zing, Dragonfly. I mean, I could go down the list. We have numbers of great drone partners, and each one has their own customers that they're working with. And so they all have their own specialties.
Mhm.
But we're
And
working
each of those companies, would they hire drone operators? Now I'm going back to drones as a career for young people because for understand if you like playing video games, like flying a drone is it's good practice. So are
yeah,
these all companies that would then hire licensed drone pilots, but they would have the drones for people to do the deliveries?
yeah, absolutely. Just like
Mhm.
anybody else, right? If you're a trucking company, you need a driver to run your trucks. If you're a drone company, you need pilots to fly your drones. So, uh,
Hmm.
absolutely, I think
That
there's
sounds like something that's probably going to grow a lot, I would think.
the demand is growing exponentially. It's
Mhm.
unreal how many new drone positions are opening up. Um, it's a huge opportunity for new jobs.
Okay. And Brianna's asking a question, which is also kind of where I'm going, which is she's talking about the ideal future. Are there like, does every house have their own mailbox? What's the farthest point that you can go actually from point A to point B? Can you talk about the process? Because there's also the issue of can you do what is it, line of sight? Is that still a law where somebody has to be seeing the package at all times? And along the lines of Brianna's question, I'm wondering for business owners, how will this help them in the future?
Okay, there's a lot there.
I know that
Uh,
was like 12 questions. Go ahead.
So, line of sight is still the rule right now.
Okay.
That is going to be changing. It looks like it's going to be as soon as next year. The
Okay.
FAA Beyond Visual Line of Sight Action Rulemaking Committee has come together. They have released the report. We are anticipating, sometime in 2023 is when we're going to start seeing that implement, and we're going to have I would say 99% of the market opens up with people.
Yeah, it strikes me just to make sure that's clear. So line of sight means, and I'm just saying this in case viewers don't know, that line of sight is the idea is that who's ever operating the drone always has to have visual contact with their drone. And I know a lot of people with deliveries, that almost defeats the purpose of the delivery, of having a drone for delivery in some ways. So that will open up a huge market, I would think.
Yeah, and so there's drone platforms I've seen that can go over 500 miles. So as I mentioned before, each drone airframe is really optimized for a specific mission profile. So if it's long distances, they're optimized to go
Hmm.
very far. Other ones are for shorter distances, heavy payloads, things like
Hmm.
that. So the sky's really the limit, no pun intended, on what's possible in configuring a drone for
Hmm.
specific. Where
Would
I
that be I'm curious, like, in terms of cost efficiency, I just have this and weather. I just have this vision of, well, at least these are where the packages are outdoors and exposed, but one drone picking up a package and going 500 miles to drop it, to another city, is that going to be financially efficient?
That's not really the business case. It's more when you're looking
Sure.
at for extremely remote deliveries into, northern Canada, Pacific
Mhm.
Islands, things like that. The last mile traditionally, 5 miles or less. So, we're looking at the vast majority of these deliveries are going to be very, very short distance, short duration, right? Getting you
Mhm.
pharmaceutical, getting you your Uber Eats or your DoorDash or
Mhm.
the package you need in 15 minutes, right?
Mhm.
That's really where drones make the most sense economically and technologically.
Mhm. I mean, it certainly seems like, I was asking, how does a business owner get started, especially if they're small business? I mean, there was a time before faxes and email where you had all the bike messengers because you had to get actual documents to places. Is that sort of the idea with businesses, or what are the types of things you think that people might be using it as a small
Yeah,
business?
precisely. There's, because we're a little bit more constrained until next year, there's certain use cases that will make sense for small businesses. Golf courses are one of them that we've seen a lot of traction in because, everything is very confined to the course itself, right? It tends to be a closed network. we're going to start seeing businesses that are looking to do their own fulfillment.
Mhm.
Having those opportunities in the next year or so is really when the inflection point is going to be. It's going to start, and this kind of answers some of Brianna's other question, in concentric circles. So you're seeing it now. There's cities that are having pilots. One operator is working in that city, now a second operator. And so you're going to start having more choices in those areas, different products, different,
Mhm.
capabilities in the
Mhm.
market. And so those will keep expanding further and further, repeating in other cities, and eventually it's going to just be everywhere.
Mhm. Well, one thing you said that makes a lot of sense, and that's I know where one of the pilots was on medical campuses where they had to get samples or test results or things like that from one building to another. So certainly within a campus, it's fantastic. I'm envisioning someone like a drugstore, if there's still besides the big ones, the mom and pop drugstores, what a great way to offer free delivery
Yep.
of products because you could easily just have a drone and send it off. Is it
Yeah.
something where if it's not line of sight, is there ever something where just using that example, let's say of the pharmacist, where they just type in the address in GPS and send the drone off? Like, will you ever have them be automated so you're not even needing an operator?
The technology is so far ahead of the regulation right now. Autonomous
Mhm.
flights are really becoming the norm. You'll see semi-autonomous and full autonomous, where semi-autonomous being waypoints, right? Just what you said, you punch in an address, the drone goes there. Full
Mhm.
autonomy is where now it is actually making decisions in flight to correct, different flight patterns and things like that on its own. So we are seeing semi-autonomous and even leaning into full
Mhm.
autonomous in some
So
cases.
I'm sorry, just so to understand when you say where it can correct, itself in flight, are you actually saying so if it's about to hit someone in the head, it knows to go around the person's head?
It's more like birds, but yeah, I mean, you're flying much, much higher. You don't want to be anywhere near the human level. The idea being that, if an obstacle did come in, a rogue drone, a bird, or something else, that it would be able to actively avoid that object in flight on its own.
Sure.
Uh, so those kind of get convoluted sometimes in the vernacular, whether it's semi-autonomous or full autonomous. But to your point, where somebody comes in, presses a button, and it flies on its own, the technology can do that already. uh,
Mhm.
the FAA still requires a pilot to be staring at the screen and on the controls just
Okay.
in case. um,
Gotcha.
but moving forward, we see, in the next few years, it will be something to the effect of you'll have a person staring at 10 screens, and each one of those screens is tied to a different drone running a mission autonomously. And only if an alarm or an alert comes up would that pilot actually have to step in and fly that drone manually.
Okay. Well, so when we originally, let me see with Brianna, it's very cool. Very few think about infrastructure. So way to go. Yeah. Because without info, I'm sorry, Sergey. Thank you for joining us. So, but very few think about the infrastructure. So way to go. And that is important for the infrastructure because that goes back to why you've been working on this since like 2012 and now 2017 for operationalizing it. You're really changing the whole I mean it's a whole new concept of how it needs airspace, roadways, it needs all kinds of technology to support it.
It does, and a lot of companies entered the industry from the drone down, right? How do I get more performance out of this drone? How do I get these incremental improvements? And as a startup, and we started in my garage, right? I mean, we didn't have
Mhm.
resources or capabilities to ever, go and try and compete with the thousands of companies that have the experience and the resources to do that. And what we did was it ended up flipping the paradigm on its head, right? These are robots with spinning blades that are inherently unsafe to people if improperly used. How do
Mhm.
we create a more streamlined, easier customer interaction? So it's as simple as they go to the mailbox, grab their package. They never have to interact with the drone. For all they care, the
Mhm.
drone doesn't even exist. It just teleports from point A to point B. They just go to their mailbox and it's there. Uh,
Mhm. And
and
then most of the mailboxes were tall enough that they'd be taller than any person who was standing next to it as well.
that's the $1 million question right now. How do you balance the needs of the infrastructure with something
Mhm.
that's in front of the house?
Mhm.
If the wife won't buy it, I won't sell one.
Or depending on the case, the husband or the kids or yeah, there's so many different things, that you wanna be careful with that.
Curb
Um,
appeal everything.
What's one of the most surprising things sorry, that's like me going like, "Hey, wait a minute." Actually, because in our case, my husband would be the one who would be really particular about, like, what it looked like or where it was in front of
Sure.
the house. So, uh, um, what's something surprising? Like, is there something that you're like, "I can't believe this just happened," or, like, something that totally caught you off guard as you were working to move everything forward?
I think I have that feeling multiple times on a daily basis and have been for several years. There's a lot of really amazing technology happening in this industry, and
Mhm,
I'm blown away by the people that are really pushing things forward. The drone industry is also known as a bit of a wild west right now, and
mhm,
there's
sure.
I'm blown away by some of the people that, press ideas that, they are very half baked or haven't left the PowerPoint phase. And, I mean,
Mhm,
it's a huge mix, but I mean, I'm surprised on a technological level, on an industry level, just even the changing macro climate, right? I mean, all of a sudden, patents in Russia are worthless. That's a major business asset, right? So you have to look at all of these different things going on and adjust in real time. So I mean, that level of surprise is pretty much common often.
mhm. Well, and when you just mentioned with Russia or with other countries in terms of who can do what, because in China, I understand they're already experimenting with drone taxis. Would that be considered a drone, or would that be just a driverless vehicle, or is that the same thing?
They're doing that in a lot of places, but China's definitely ahead. China
Mhm,
several years ahead of the rest of the world because they took the impetus to say we're going to start pushing this, we're going to start allowing it, and opened up the airspace a little bit easier for their companies than a lot of the other countries. And so China has a much further developed drone ecosystem right now than the
mhm.
rest of the world.
Have you traveled there to see what people are doing? Have you been in a in a taxi drone?
I have not been to China. We're gonna go there right when COVID hit,
Oh, when COVID hit, sure.
but yeah, it's definitely on the list. A lot of great things happening in drones in China right now.
Yeah. So as a business owner, what could I'm thinking just small business owners, is there something that business owners should be doing to maybe kind of be at the in front of, I guess, the trend with drones?
So there's a few things. We're at a weird point. Before you used to be able to specialize, right? You were in, connectivity and cellular, or you were in industrial automation, or you were in, aviation.
Mhm,
And now you have to be in all of them. There's not a situation where you're working with hardware
mhm,
that isn't connected to something, IoT based, right? There's
mhm,
not a situation where there's not software at a very deep level, whether cloud embedded, a combination of them, um, that makes you can't be as much of a specialist as a business owner. The people you hire should definitely be specialists in each of those areas, but you have to have a pretty solid understanding of everything from connectivity to IP to software to hardware, aviation, all
mhm,
of it. And there's not really an easy answer for that other than read, take in as much information as you
mhm,
can, network with everybody you can, get all the opinions you can, and you have to make a, a informed decision. I was fortunate to be able to go and get my undergrad in economics when I got out of the military on my GI Bill, and it really opened my eyes to the cycles involved in things.
mhm,
Um, you look at the old industrial revolution, whether it was, the trains coming in, then vehicles, automobiles, and then airplanes, etc. So you see these giant pushes, right? Internet, smartphones,
mhm.
and so drones are going to be a
Yeah. Actually, what you're pointing out, which I always find fascinating, I'm sorry it's envious of people who come up with that product, even like a cell phone cover. You know what I mean? Like a cell phone came up, someone said, you know what? People are clumsy. They're going to drop their phones. And now, cell phone covers is a huge business. Just the way that people anticipate something the way that people anticipate things uh, uh, the way that people anticipate the ability to add on products. So
and
we're good.
part of it. We were looking at it, and you look at the stages of a cycle, right? In the beginning, right? The guy, Steve Jobs, and the team at Apple and all the smartphone revolution they made, right? And then it turns into people building apps and people
Mhm.
building phone cases.
Right.
And
Sure.
I see this as laying the seed for trillions of dollars in business
Mhm.
opportunity and business models for people to go and make fortunes on. And we're just building the technology that they can go and
Mhm. Which actually thinking of that, speaking, we'll go back to your analogy of the wife. The wife might want something pink with flowers. So, my question for you is, it actually strikes me now that would be something because you have one specific design, but it's the technology that makes the difference. People actually could come up with attractive designs that look like a seated bench or something that also then doubles as your porch drone delivery box.
Yep. So as long as it's got the technology like ours built into it, you can change the size or shape to whatever you need.
Interesting.
It's
So.
covering the technology, not the visual.
Mhm. Now I'm like, "Ooh, I just said that idea out loud. Let's talk."
Mm.
It is time, my friend, for the flash photo stories.
All right.
So what that means is you have sent me a number of photos ahead of time, and I flash the photo on the screen, and then you give me a 1 to 2 sentence story about it. So that'll help us, see a little bit more about what you're doing and how it works.
Sure. This was some testing we did last summer, and you can see these crossbars that are on the screen. Those are actually part of our patent pending centering device. And so that allows for drones to have different configurations to be a little bit more inaccurate in their landing, or if there's a crosswind, and it allows us much more control of the drone and much more agnosticism with the airframe.
Mhm. So that's the part really that nobody sees. And so that square in the middle, I guess when the box goes down, that's what's going to open. How does it get a box that big through the system into the right mailbox?
So that's the secret sauce
That's the
behind it.
secret sauce. Okay. Shh. All right. So very cool. Yeah, that almost looks like that actually looks a little bit like when the magician has someone go in and they carve him in half where it looks like there's not enough space for that to happen. So this must be in Naper. This actually looks like my friend's backyard in Naperville.
This
Now
is
that I'm looking at it.
in Aurora.
In Aurora. Okay.
So this was our first prototype. We started building 2017, and
Mhm.
we actually were featured in the Peoria Business Journal because a lot of our efforts were down there at the time. And so we did this photo shoot, and this was our first prototype. It was built exactly off of our first patent drawings. So yeah, this one definitely holds a bit of sentimental value to me.
That's amazing. And so as far as getting to this operational stage and building prototypes and things like that, and this could be a naive question, but do you start them by with your concept and then getting investors to help just fund each step of the way, or how does that part work?
It was a process. I had to get,
Mhm.
my patents granted first. Investors wanted to see I had something protectable, and then they
Sure.
said, "Okay, great. Now I need to see an actual product. Show me your technology works." So we had to go and build this version, and we did a lot of testing, thousands of flights in this backyard, and we realized that there is a lot of inherent flaws in what we were doing, and so we kept progressing and tweaking until we found something that worked for both our customers, the drone pilots, everybody involved. And so this is kind of where it all started.
Mhm. How will you handle weather issues? Because these look exposed. Are there models where they're not exposed to
Yeah,
weather?
we're releasing a weather covered version in the coming weeks. Actually, we've been doing a lot of testing with it. Each of the boxes are completely weatherproof
Mhm.
themselves. But we are adding extra layers of weatherproofing to it. This one is actually from September 11th, 2019. We did the first ever delivery over Sprint's 5G network right before T-Mobile acquired them. We were down in Peachtree Corners, Georgia, at Curiosity Lab, which was run by Sprint, now T-Mobile. They're a great partner of ours, but we were able to deliver a package from a Reef Ghost Kitchen to one of our landing stations. And yeah, we're proud that it was the first ever delivery over a 5G network.
That's fun too, the public demonstration. That's where you want to I feel like what is that, like the one where somebody decided to drop a chicken out of an airplane with a parachute, but the
Yep.
parachute didn't open? That didn't happen, I take it. So that's good, it was successful.
Yeah.
So this looks like an apartment building or maybe an office building adaptation.
Yeah, so this is one of the versions that we are working on, the newer, later models. It has the weather covers, as you were alluding to. So when snow or leaves
Oh,
are,
got it. Uh-huh.
they're removed.
So is this a still a test thing, or are some of these actually already working, and is this actually in place and accepting deliveries?
This one was for demo.
Mhm,
We do have units that are out being used in deliveries right now. A lot of our partners we're doing that with tend to stay pretty quiet.
mhm.
So, we're not making their business public, but,
Gotcha. Okay.
we do have units deployed and they are actively sending and receiving packages.
Okay. When is your schedule for being, like, totally, completely public and we're doing it? Does that have to wait for the laws to follow up as far as the what is it called? The line of sight?
It's less on us. It's much more on our drone partners.
Okay.
We're a system provider.
Oh, gotcha.
It's our business to
Mhm.
tell what the world what they're doing until they're ready. So we're
Mm.
happy to support them. We're happy to work with
Got
them.
it.
We take confidentiality very seriously.
Okay. And so your clients, you're more B2B, and then those people would be handling the individual stuff you've created. Wait, it's like 30 minutes in. Oh, now I get it, which you said when I introduced you, which is you're creating the infrastructure and the system so that somebody else who's like a delivery company then can go end to end, but you've got everything taken care of there. All right. Hi, I'd like to welcome you to the show. My guest today is Ryan Walsh.
No, no.
Uh,
This one was actually from that video you showed. So this was
okay.
from the Naperville demo over the summer,
Mhm.
where we were doing deliveries at different points and just seeing, different test factors we were looking at.
Mhm. It's funny, I take a lot of road trips with my son, and if you ever go, like, when you get on those rural routes at the end of a drive that looks like it goes nowhere, there's always that wooden board that's got, like, 12 mailboxes on it.
Hmm.
That's what it seems like. This would be a perfect replacement for those 12 mailboxes.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Mhm,
This one is actually in Plainfield. We were doing some marketing for different promotional materials, and we just so happened to like the lake
mhm.
behind it. So it's more just,
How much does that weigh? Is it metal?
it is metal. It's about 450 pounds.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are now at the time of the show. Actually, I just want to make sure that I have the correct information because I know if people want to follow up with you, that is the correct spelling, correct? Valqari, there's no, okay. And then if people want to email you, it's Walsh at Valqari.com, or on LinkedIn, they can follow you. It's Ryan Walsh with the two hyphens. So just to make sure that people can find you with the technology. We are now at the point of the show where we are going to do the flash exercise. So, and what that is each week I pick, because I'm also a group fitness instructor, and I always pick an exercise that to me is representative of you and the product or what we're talking about. So I'm going to make me full screen for just a second. I'm going to show the exercise, and then I am going to bring you back on. To do it with me. So this exercise actually comes from the field of kickboxing. It most often might be part of a cardio routine, but it's so your hands kind of, we'll just start them right here. So if your hands are right here kind of at chest height, what you're doing is you're coming up and back. So it's up and back. Actually, it looks kind of like Wonder Woman, like with her wrists, but it's like that. So it's a block and a block. So let me I'm going to bring Ryan back. We're going to do it together. So again, this exercise is like from kickboxing, and so it's like there and there.
It's funny you caught me because I've been doing these exercises.
Oh, look at you. Okay. Well, see, there you go. All right. Oh, so you've got actually the really good form. Notice Ryan's form. He's got the elbow and he's doing the snap up. I was kind of using my whole arm. So, all right, there you go. All right. So why do you think I picked this exercise for you? Besides being completely clairvoyant that you've been doing, when what have you been hitting that you've been doing this exercise?
I like to hit the bag, and
Okay. All right. Why do you think I picked this exercise for you and Valqari?
I'm actually quite interested in hearing that reason myself.
All right. So 2 reasons. 1, and Ryan knows because I can never just go, "Oh, you were an Army Ranger." I always have to go, "And you were an Army Ranger," because I find that so impressive. So 1, just the toughness of the move, like, just for your personal experience, but also talk about, like, vision and perseverance, because if the technology you were first coming up with in 2012 started operationalizing it in 2017, so many people are used to quick fixes, but something that is this revolutionary is going to change how we operate. Takes time, and you're going to have challenges that you just have to knock out of the way to move forward.
I love that.
So that's
Um,
it.
I always said, that I didn't make it through Ranger selection because I was the fastest, the strongest, the smartest. I mean, I made it through because I could eat more just BS than anybody. You could not take me into a swamp that was too dirty and too wet and sleep there long. You can't get me to quit. It's just my one thing I can't do. So, somebody coming to me and telling me in 2015 you're crazy and laughing me out of their office.
Mhm.
Okay, on to the next one. It's perseverance and the ability to see something to the end, no matter how hard, how long. I mean, everybody's expecting your startup's gonna, all of a sudden, you get noticed by Google to give you $10 million and you're
Yeah.
successful, right? It's not the case. It's
Mhm.
startups are actually 10, 15, sometimes 20 years before they're an overnight
Wow.
success. And so,
That's hard.
perseverance is probably one of the most important qualities of being an entrepreneur.
Mhm. Well, thank you for that insight. And I'm thinking even now, I mean, laws have had to change. Basically, not only did you have to like persevere with the technologies, if you literally had to change laws to be able to run the business. So, well, thank you so much for joining us, Ryan. This was a wonderful conversation. Enjoyed learning more and can't wait to keep continuing to see more because I think we're probably going to start seeing these mailboxes places and then understand what it is and how it's going to help us like with deliveries and just being more efficient with our businesses. So thank you so much for joining us on Intercultural Spark.
It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to be on your show, Deanna. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye. And we'll see everyone next week on Intercultural Spark.